management, and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. PTL Nation, everybody joining us. Of course, we're in the YouTube Super Chat where your questions and comments can be heard. The website, pushingthelimits.live, my personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. Ever growing, by the way. Thanks to all of you out there, so I appreciate it. And we got some great guests lined up today. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by former presidential candidate and also former Republican Joe Walsh. He's going to be joining us on the show here momentarily in just a few minutes. There is a possibility that we've confirmed that it appears as though Donald Trump, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, President Donald Trump will be joining us at the bottom of the hour, and he's going to be giving us 10 minutes of his time. So you're certainly not going to want to miss that as well. I promise you it will be interesting, and he'll be joining us. As I mentioned, Joe Walsh here in just a few minutes. We're also on the FMAM dial, KSHP, and check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. I just got off the phone with Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein. He has agreed to come on this program tomorrow. He is obviously very frustrated and angry because he's been wanting answers to his brother's death for a very long time. And he has a lot of things he'd like to say to the Trump administration. And apparently this video that Pam Bondi put out that is not only a different angle than the video that they said they were going to provide, but there's also a minute that is missing from this camera angle, from this video. So, I think it's very interesting. Very, very interesting that for whatever reason, the Trump administration is not releasing this information. It's bizarre. It's strange. It's peculiar. Very, very odd. So we'll get to that a little bit later on in the program. Obviously, we have Joe Walsh here coming up here in just a few minutes. And we'll get to him and we'll ask Mark Epstein the questions that need to be asked tomorrow on the program. But we have a lot to get to. We have a lot to go over. And as I mentioned, former presidential candidate Joe Walsh is going to be joining us momentarily here. In just a few minutes. Also, the big news today is a federal judge issued a new nationwide block against Trump's order seeking to end birthright citizenship. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to take a quick 60-second break. And when we come back, we will be joined by former presidential candidate Joe Walsh. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi. I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Always love getting perspectives from all sorts of different people. And I will tell you, this guy's been doing my show for years. It's kind of weird to be calling him a Democrat. I have to be honest with you, but as you know, former presidential candidate Joe Walsh, a former Republican, now Democrat, who joins us right now on the program. Joe, always good to see you, my friend. I appreciate you being here. How are you?
Hey, Brian, it's still weird to be called a Democrat.
Yeah, it's
right?
weird. It's weird calling you one too, Joe. I appreciate you coming on, Joe, as always. I wanted to ask you right off the bat this first question. So there's reporting that Kristi Noem didn't authorize FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams until Monday. And as you know, Donald Trump gutted the NOAA. Yet they're saying that we're politicizing it. What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
It's all bullcrap. We've never, ever had a president before Trump who politicized disasters and disaster relief. And he's open about it, Brian. See, Trump's such an idiot. He thinks if I'm openly corrupt, then people won't think it's corrupt. Donald Trump has publicly said, I'm only going to help red states and not blue states. Kristi Noem, I served with her in Congress. She's an idiot. She's a bad person. I mean that. So it's not at all a surprise that she would execute what Trump wants her to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, what do you make of Greg Abbott, who made analogies about a football game? I'm sure you saw that clip. Meanwhile, there are dozens of children that have lost their lives. Looks like it could be hundreds of people that have lost their lives, including children. And yet you have Greg Abbott talking about losing a football game, making those analogies. What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
Maybe this is a harsh thing to say, Brian, but a coward. I know Governor Abbott in a wheelchair, but I'm going to call him a coward. What a cowardly thing to do. He is hiding behind football. Right. That was just mind blowing. Over 100 people dead, 170 or 80 people missing. And he uses a football analogy, and he used it to avoid answering the question. And he used it to say, look at us. We're Texas, baby. We freaking love football. Mm. It was a cowardly thing to do, and it's a stupid thing to do because, as you know, right, every high school, college, pro football team, they film their football games so they can learn from their mistakes, so they don't repeat their mistakes. So who's to blame? What happened? Those are important questions that he didn't have the guts to answer.
Completely agree with you, Joe. Now, you being a former congressman, you were privy to certain information that the average person in the general public does not have. That's why I want to ask you this question. Your thoughts on Jeffrey Epstein, your thoughts on Pam Bondi claiming that she was going to release these files and an alleged list. She obviously never did that. There's a lot of people that are calling for her to resign. Do you believe, I guess it's a two-part question, is there anything that you know more than, the average person in the general public knows about this stuff, because being a former congressman? And number two, why do you think the Trump administration refuses to release this information?
So, no, there's nothing more I know about this at this point. Two points to make. Why does Trump want it to go away? because I think Trump knows his name and names of people he knows and associates with is on some list directly or indirectly related to Epstein, period. Now, Bongino, Patel, Bondi, all these people, right? Even just a year ago, before they were in government, they spread the Epstein conspiracies. They grew audiences and made money off of. And then they get into government, right? And they realized, oh my God, maybe everything's not a deep state. Maybe there wasn't some grandiose Epstein conspiracy, but they fed the monster and their people believe it. J.D. Vance and Trump as well. So this issue, Brian, I can tell you, I still talk to MAGA folk every day. They're pissed off about this issue. They really are.
So you don't, this is interesting though, because I think I partially agree with what you said. You know, Trump knows a lot of people that associated themselves with Jeffrey Epstein as well. But when I hear, Joe, that Epstein once called Trump his best friend and that he was on the flight log 7 times, we've learned in the Maxwell trial, and that Trump allowed Epstein on his private jet, I say to myself, there's probably a good chance he's in these files as well. Is that far-fetched?
Completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Completely agree. And my stance is probably your stance. That was our stance back in 1819, whenever this story broke. I don't care what politicians are hurt by this, Trump, Clinton, whoever, get it out there.
Yeah.
What Epstein did to underage girls is despicable. Any big, powerful people were involved. Just open transparency, throw all the names out there. Trump clearly doesn't want that to happen.
I made this case on Piers Morgan the other day, Joe, and I said, you know, Donald Trump will sue you if you call him the son of an orangutan. You know, you can just insult him and he will threaten a lawsuit or file a lawsuit against you. If he's not in these Epstein files, why isn't he threatening a lawsuit against the richest man in the world, Elon Musk?
I don't need to answer that, Brian. Yeah, let's just let that question sit out there. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you about this big, beautiful bill. As you know, Joe, at least 10 million, I've heard maybe even upwards of 15 to 20 million people could lose their Medicaid. The excuse I hear from MAGA Republicans is just get off your ass and work. And as you know, 30% of people that are working are not offered medical benefits, and half the people can't afford it. So why is it that these MAGA Republicans keep lying to us?
And I used to do some of that, Brian. Look, you and I, if we're sitting down with some tequila, I have a much different vision of government than you. You probably envision government doing more than I do, but you and I could sit down and have a reasonable conversation. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, these programs, man, they need to be reformed to be saved. But Republicans aren't doing that. Republicans are still doing the thing that you've got all these people down in their grandmother's basements playing video games, and they're the ones on Medicaid. It's bull crap. It's a lie. But this works, Bri. They say this because their base wants to believe it. Again, I'm a new Democrat. Democrats have been handed a gift. This big, ugly bill. Brian, Obamacare got me elected. When Democrats voted on Obamacare in 2009, they knew they were going to get spanked politically in 2010. They did, and people like me got elected. Republicans know this big, ugly bill is going to hurt them next year. Now, the difference is Democrats who passed Obamacare back in 2009, they knew it would hurt them politically, but they believed that was a good bill. Privately, Brian, Republicans do not even believe this is a good bill. But they passed it hurriedly because their cult leader demanded it.
Yep. If you're just joining us, former presidential candidate Joe Walsh, also former Republican, now Democrat. Joe, we might disagree a little bit on immigration stuff, but I also know that you're a very compassionate person and you care about people. So this is why it's an important question to ask you. Just like you, I don't want violent people in this country, let alone violent people that are undocumented. But what do you make of these ICE agents, some not even identifying themselves, outside of courtrooms, in front of Home Depot, treating non-violent criminals like animals? We've seen the video of this, and it seems like MAGA Republicans and the Tom Homans of the world are enjoying it. They actually enjoy it. And then we hear about this, whatever you want to call it, crocodile Alcatraz or whatever they're calling it now. And I just feel like these people, they don't have a heart. They don't have a moral compass. Why are they treating people like this?
So, Brian, I'm tempted to run for president and run solely on this issue, because what's happening now is not who we are. And I say that as someone who's a border hawk. And I say that as someone like you who says you're in this country illegally and you're a violent criminal, get the hell out. But I also say this as someone that looks at this, what's going on now, right? Brian, Trump got elected on this issue. My party, the Democratic Party, didn't pay enough attention to immigration and the border. So Donald Trump demagogued it. And now we're reaping the ugly, cruel, extreme result of that. Innocent people getting nabbed off the streets. Brian, a church in San Bernardino, California, the pastor of that church last week wrote an email to his parishioners and said, don't come to church Sunday, because his parishioners, primarily Latino, were afraid to come to church because they're afraid of getting picked up in the parking lots outside of church. My God, man, this isn't America. We cannot let this stand.
Do you think that this is mainly because of just blatant racism? Because as you know, in South Africa, Donald Trump's administration gave amnesty to 10 white people that came into this country that were seeking asylum. Do you believe a good portion of it, maybe not all of it, but a portion of it, is what these people look like? Because I tend to think that it is that reason. So
I come from the MAGA base. I'm a border hawk. And I agree with you. And I'll use your language, my friend. A good proportion of it is racially based. My former base, the right, envisions a white Christian country. That's part of this. There's another part, though, that, you know, the border's broken and we shouldn't let anybody in, but they're only going after brown and black people, Brian. So that's a big part of this.
Very powerful to hear you say that. And that's why I respect you so much for you admitting that, because that's not an easy thing to admit.
Hey, Brian, it's not an easy thing for me to say. And I know you well enough and you know me well enough. Back in the day, I used to feed some of this stuff. And I acknowledge that. And I got to live with that. But that's a part of it.
Yeah, but you're an important, you play an extremely important role now in speaking truth to power. Speaking of church, Joe, I do want to ask you about this. Because as you know, now Donald Trump has no problem with allowing churches to back political candidates, which is, to me, completely ridiculous and absurd. What are your thoughts on that? Speaking of religion, that they're allowing this to happen now in this country.
So I'm torn on this one, Brian. I want to hear more of your view. I think it's been happening forever. The tax exempt status maybe is something that needs to be looked at. I'm a free speech absolutist. I've never had a problem with a pastor or a rabbi or an imam or anyone standing up in their house of worship saying, getting political. I've never had an issue with it. But I understand that people do. What's your objection?
Well, my opinion is pretty simple: separation between church and state. And we've lost that in this country. There are too many politicians and too many people in general that base policy on their religion. And if you allow churches to back candidates and it becomes even more political than it already is in this climate, I think things are going to get worse. I want people, I'm a libertarian in a sense that I want people to believe whatever the hell they want to believe. I don't care what your religion you are. Do you, just don't push it on me and don't let it affect me. If people are going to church, they're going there, correct me if I'm wrong, to pray and to worship God. They're not going there to listen to political opinions. I think that's wrong.
Hey, Brian, this is a really cool issue because I want a pastor to be free to stand up in his church and say, Jesus would vote for Kamala Harris. Now, what does that mean? I want a pastor to be free to be able to say that to his congregation. Does that then mean maybe that church loses the church's tax exempt status from the government? Maybe those two things have to go together. I don't know.
But we know that's not going to happen. We know that especially the right wing, the evangelical right, many of these pastors are Trump supporters. But at the same time, I understand your point in Jesus's teachings about, being a decent human being, not being a sinner, not cheating on your wife, not doing this, not doing that. I get your point. All I'm simply saying is I think it's a slippery slope. What about synagogues? What about Muslims? What about all these other religions? Are you going to allow them to do the exact same thing? Or are you just going to be selective because that most, if not all, evangelical Christians are supporting Donald Trump? That's my issue here, Joe, with this.
No, that's fair, Brian. I get that. And I can just tell you, coming from Chicago, I've lived with a lot of South Side Black churches over the years. Pastors down there advocating their Democratic candidates for mayor and blah, blah. And I've never had a problem with it. To me, it's not a government establishment of a religion. It's everybody's free exercise of their religion. It's a really cool issue, actually.
It is. It's somewhat controversial, but it is an interesting issue. Before I let you go, Joe, I certainly want to ask you as a whole, the first 5 months of Donald Trump's administration, right? I always ask you this question because I love your take on it. We're now in a war with Iran, as you know. The war in Ukraine, it seems like finally now Donald Trump is realizing that Vladimir Putin is full of garbage and he's a bad guy. That war isn't anywhere near being over. Marco Rubio today, said we should basically give an award to Donald Trump for just speaking to these world leaders, which is absurd. These tariffs, 2 deals in 90 days? He said he'd get us 90 deals in 90 days, 200 deals would be made. And now all of a sudden we're led to believe that letters that are being sent are deals, which is also ridiculous. I mean, every single time I speak to a MAGA Republican, they always want to talk. I love what he's doing on immigration. But then when I bring up, taking people's rights away and, picking people up off the streets and basically kidnapping them. Well, I don't agree with that, but I like this. What the hell has this guy done? And what has he accomplished besides hurting this country in the first 5 months? I just think it's been a disgrace. And I think it's going to take us decades to come back from the damage that Donald Trump is doing.
If we come back, Brian, if we come back. And I beg to differ on Trump and Putin. I believe Trump works for Putin. I believe Trump is on Putin's side, period. Look, the most powerful country in the history of the world has a psychopathic idiot as its president. He's a stupid, dangerous man who, Brian, I believe is a psychopath. And in my definition is he's someone who is incapable of putting any interest ahead of his own. Everything he does is driven by his interest. This is really, really dangerous. And we're seeing the danger play out on the world stage and at home. The damage he's done in the last 5 or 6 months is going to take years to recover from if we ever do. And I just one final warning as a new Democrat. Democrats, we cannot beat him and or Republicans in 26 or 28 if we just say how bad they are. That day is done. Democrats, we got to freaking wake up and say this is what we are to win.
Very well said, Joe. That's why I love you, my friend. Give us the information, who you got coming up on your podcast before I let you go.
Man, came out today. Dave Briggs, he's a former CNN Fox anchor. He thinks Elon's third party is a great idea. What the? I caught myself. Come on. But we had a very respectful conversation about it.
I love it. Love your podcast, Joe. Appreciate you. Thanks so much for the time, my friend. Can't wait to watch that interview, by the way. And have a great weekend if I don't talk to you. Thanks, Joe.
Love you, Brian. Love you, man.
Love you too, Joe. Thanks so much, my friend. Joe Walsh is a good man. Love him. That's why I have so much respect for Joe. People ask me all the time, how come you like Joe Walsh so much? Well, based on this interview is a good example. He admits his mistakes. He calls out Republicans. He calls out the side that he was on. He calls out Donald Trump. He's not afraid. I love that about Joe. We need more people like Joe Walsh. I think Joe Walsh is fantastic. He tells it like it is. I don't agree with Joe Walsh on everything, but I certainly agree with him on a lot of things. That's for sure. And I would absolutely vote for Joe Walsh in a heartbeat. I would vote for Joe Walsh over just about any Republican that's out there right now. I know Joe Walsh is a decent man. He's been very consistent over the course of the last 6 years, 7 years. He knows at one point he was, a Trump supporter. He backed Trump. But we need to bring in people like Joe Walsh. That's my personal opinion. There are people out there that say, I don't trust Joe Walsh. Well, then who do you trust? I trust somebody who could admit when they made a mistake. I trust somebody who calls out the mistakes that they made and owns the mistakes that they made. Because as a man or as a woman, as a human being, that's all we can ask. If you make a mistake in life and you vote wrong or you do the wrong thing, now it's one thing if somebody votes for Trump 3 times. Joe Walsh didn't do that. He was anti-Donald Trump almost 6 months into his first administration. Joe Walsh has been very, very consistent on his opinions. I respect the man, and I would vote for Joe Walsh over any MAGA Republican any day of the week. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be joined by a man who I really don't trust very much, but you're not going to want to miss this interview. It's going to be live. The 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will be joining us next after this quick break. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYou101.com.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Programming note for you tomorrow. Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, will be joining us on the show. I know that he has a lot that he wants to talk about, so we will certainly be getting to that. We have a lot of interesting guests on this show. We just had former presidential candidate Joe Walsh, but it is very rare, and I always appreciate it when he takes the time to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, the 47th President of the United States, nice enough to take some time to join us, Donald J. Trump. Mr. President, I really do appreciate you being here, sir. How are you today?
Oh, it's always great to be on the show with you, Brian. And clear the air. You're one of the few people that I get to talk to who are not only just knowledgeable, handsome like yourself, but you always let me say my piece. You always let me say my piece.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. President. That's very, very nice of you. Thank you so much for your time. I have to ask you this first, Mr. President. What do you make of, first of all, finally owning the fact that maybe Vladimir Putin is not such a good guy? Because it seems like you've been coddling him a lot, Mr. President. What do you have to say to
Well, I don't think I was, it turns out, and no one told me this, I just found this out. Did you know that he was like a spy for the KGB. He's trained in lying to people's faces. No one talks about that. No one talks about that. And I am finding this out now. And he hasn't been very forthright with me, and I don't appreciate that. He's making me look like a monkey. I don't want to look like a monkey. You know what I'm saying?
We definitely don't want you to look like a monkey, Mr. President. But,
I'm starting to side with Zelensky on this now, because Vlad is he's not being very truthful with me. And when we have these talks, he used to call me and say, "What are you wearing today?" And I'd say, "What are you wearing today?" And he'd say his gray suit, and I'd say my blue suit with the red tie. But now we don't even have that. It's a shame what's happened.
That's too bad, Mr. President. Let's talk about some even more important things. Why is it you
guys?
I
think I know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I just want to say you're right. I should definitely win the Barnes and Noble Peace Prize. The president of Liberia, who speaks very good English. I don't know if you saw the interview. He speaks very good English for one of those people.
Do you want to take it?
Bibi Netanyahu, they both turned in a letter for me. So I think it's in the bag, Brian. I think it's in the bag.
Okay, but Mr. President, are you jealous that Barack Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize? Because I've heard you've been very jealous.
Of course. What did he do? I think he got it on the first day he was in office. What did he do? President Trump. President Trump doesn't get one, but Barack Obama, who didn't do anything, he gets one. This is the problem with this country. We give this participation medals. In this case, the participation Peace Prize.
Why do you deserve one then, Mr. President? Tell me.
Excuse me, Brian, you're Jewish. I brought peace to the Middle East. I brought peace to the Middle East.
You did?
Iran is not bombing your homeland anymore, Israel.
They are?
And we're going to have a very nice beach resort in Gaza. Did you see what Netanyahu did there? I mean, he pummeled that place. Oh, my God. It's like a bunch of broken rocks. It's really incredible.
Wow. So
you think
you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize because there's going to be a resort in Gaza, like a Trump resort?
Of course. Listen, it's all about the economy. What was that thing they said during the Clinton administration? It's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
And it's about the economy. We're going to make the Middle East, we're going to make it what do you call that? The Riviera of the Middle East.
Interesting.
Which it was before, but now we'll own it.
Interesting. I have to ask you about the Epstein files, Mr. President, because at one point Jeffrey Epstein said that he was your best friend. You were on were you ever?
I never heard that. People are telling me this, that he said I was his closest friend. I don't remember that. Were we together when he said that? I don't remember.
Mr. President, you were seen on video.
Why are we still talking about this guy? Why are we still talking about this guy? We should be talking about Texas. We should be talking about the gold leaf in the cabinet area, because you can't get any good gold leaf paint. You've got to actually take the gold leaf. You've got to press it on to the crown molding. That's the only way it'll work. It's the only way.
I know that's very important to you, Mr. President, but a lot of
I'm a builder. I build things, Brian. I build things, and people like you tear them apart because you're a left-wing, radical, lunatic, Marxist, socialist, fascist, fascistic, living in Las Vegas, which I love because we've got the Trump Tower there. And by the way, it's pool season, and we've got the best pool parties in Las Vegas because we have the wettest water in Las Vegas. It withstands the 110-degree heat you're having today.
Why don't you ever take your shirt off at the pool, Mr. President?
Oh, God, I don't want to. Listen, I shower in my suit. I don't like being naked.
You shower in your suit. Wow, that's not weird at all, Mr. President. I'm sorry, I have to go back to this. I can't let you off the hook here. Pam,
you know what the thing is? People keep going back to Epstein. This is old news. Let's talk about Hunter Biden. Let's talk about the 2020 election. Let's talk about new things. Let's talk about Hillary Clinton. Let's talk about it. Why are we focusing on Jeffrey Epstein?
Because Pam, Mr. President, your own Attorney General said that she was going to be releasing the files. Aren't you going to fire her? What would you have to say about Pam Bondi?
Well, I think she's very attractive. I think she's right. I would say, look at Janet Reno, look at Pam Bondi. Who wins in that one, right? Far more attractive. I would say.
Is that why you hired Caroline Leavitt, sir?
Oh, isn't she great? She married an older guy, and I thought immediately I had a chance with her. I thought immediately I got a shot.
I want to ask you about that moment you had with Melania on the 4th of July, where it appears. Forgive me
I had
if
to pay extra for that.
Yeah, forgive me for saying this because I said this on the Pierce Morgan show. I called it the masturbation dance, Mr. President. You're doing this,
and you got a lot of trouble for that one. I thought that was.
I
fun.
did.
You got shalom.
I did.
You got shalom for saying masturbation.
Well,
Isn't that great?
it just appears as though you were forcing Melania and she wouldn't allow you to kiss her on the lips. Would you like to respond to that? It just looked like it was forced and she just did not want to be there.
We had negotiated a 4th of July kiss. I had to buy that stupid piece of jewelry from one of those guys. They permanently put it on your wrist, like $10,000. Stupidest thing I've ever seen. But I paid extra, and she did not put out. And I made her put out.
She didn't. I understand. How is that marriage going, Mr. President? Can you share anything with us?
Going great. I don't really see her a lot, but that works for me. That works for me because I'm saving this country. 90 deals in 90 days. And out of those 90, I think we have 3 frameworks. You know?
Why do you keep saying 90 deals in 90 days? There's been like 2 deals.
It sounds good. It sounds good. Remember Herman Cain? He died because he got COVID at one of my rallies.
Yes.
But he used to say 9, 9, 9, 9. I used to love that. I love that. So I like 9. I like the number 9. And I like a 0 after it. So 90 deals in 90 days. And we're sending letters. I'm sending letters. I'm sending a tersely worded letter to all these people who didn't respond. Japan, the president of Japan, Mr. Japan. I said, Mr. Japan, you better make a deal or I'm going to hit you with 25% tariffs.
Mr. President, you're on fire today. I'm just going to keep you for a couple more minutes.
I am. I had two Diet Cokes. Two Diet Cokes.
Wow, 2 Diet Coke. You're on just a couple more minutes, Mr. President. Listen, I have to be honest with you, okay? There are some people in this country that have compassion. They don't like these ICE agents that are just deporting people and separating families. Right. It seems like you take joy in this alligator Alcatraz and watching people suffer, Mr. President. Would you like to respond to that?
Well, I think absolutely. Here's the thing with all this stuff that's happening with ICE. You know, we've been very nice to these Mexican people. They're selling fruit. They're selling ices. They're doing all these things. And we just let them live here and pay taxes and pay into the economy. And we can't have that. We can't have that because they're stealing from us. Because this is the United States of America, not the Gulf of Mexico, which I renamed the Gulf of America. Yeah. So we're going to get those people out. And listen, the good ones who clean the toilets and work at the hotels and make all the food in the kitchen, they can come back in. But have you noticed something, Brian? I'm really doing it in California because I'm sticking it to Gavin Newsom. I'm sticking it to Gavin. We don't have the ICE agents in Louisiana and all those the red states, but we got them all over the blue states.
Mr. President, didn't you once hire illegal immigrants though to work for you?
I still do.
You still do, really? Are they working in the White House?
Oh my God! You can't even. You pay them like a quarter of what you would pay a normal employee. You think I'm going to get a 15-year-old white kid to wash the dishes at Mar-a-Lago? Listen, it's not going to happen. I need a Guatemalan who's 4 foot tall, who just has a back with a rack of glasses on it. It's really amazing how hard these people work.
We'll have to look into that because that sounds illegal. But we'll definitely look into that.
Listen, excuse me, Brian. Did you not? I have it right in front of me. Can you hear that? That is the decree from the U.S. Supreme Court. I can break the law as long as it's in an official capacity. I have it. I keep it on my desk, and I point to everybody when they say, "Sir, that's illegal." I'm like, "Take a look at that." It's from the Supremes.
Have you talking to President Xi lately? By the way, Mr. President, because it doesn't sound like
Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
Xi Jinping. We don't need his crap. You know, Walmart's like 95% of that garbage. I never shopped at Walmart, and most of these people, they shouldn't be shopping there either.
I understand. Well, Mr. President, before we let you go, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to tell us about? How's your golf game going? I know you play a lot of golf.
I play a lot of golf, and for the last 40 years, I have won the course champion at all of my courses. I mean, what are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? It's so incredible.
Well, Mr. President, we really do appreciate your time. Thank you very much. If you could just pass the phone along to your very good friend, John DiDomenico, the very talented.
Absolutely. But before I go, I just want to mention we're reinvestigating James Comey and John Brennan. And speaking of John Brennan, let me get you John DiDomenico. Hey, Brian.
Hey, John, you are brilliant, my friend. You are on fire today. Donald Trump.
There's just so much.
There is a lot to talk about every single day.
Oh, my God.
Would you say that you are more popular now than ever?
There's always people who want to book me and have me at their events. I did a big 4th of July event on Lake Tahoe in a $20 million home for a very well-known billionaire, which was very nice. And I get to meet all these fascinating people. And then 2 days later, I did a big thing for an aerospace company that the owner loves Trump. So it's
John,
it certainly keeps me busy.
John, so how does this work? Like somebody hires you for a private event. You show up in the makeup and the Trump the whole time. You're Donald Trump.
Well, sometimes I can't because of what's going on. So I have to come in as myself. They sequester me, put me in a room. I get into full Trump, and then I appear.
Gotcha.
And the one in Lake Tahoe, somebody came by, got me into a golf cart, whisked me away. We went up the lake side. Then they brought me in by boat. So, which was absolutely hilarious because my wig, obviously the wind blew it, but it was so bad. I looked like I had dreadlocks by the end of the performance because the wind off Lake Tahoe was blowing so incredibly hard.
I have to be at one of these parties. John, maybe next time, if you're willing to do this, we could talk about it off the air because we're getting a lot of people on YouTube now that said you got to have John DiDomenico as Donald Trump and take phone calls and have people ask you questions. What do you think?
Oh, my God. I would love that.
All right.
I would love that.
Next time, that is our promise. Thanks to John. We're going to take some calls.
I'll do full makeup. We'll do the whole bit.
That sounds great. Yeah, we can do it via stream. Yeah, we can do a stream of it. We can do video and you can answer questions. Oh, that would be so much fun. John, you are the best. You are so talented. Not only the best Trump impersonator, but one of the funniest comedians around. And give out that social media information, growing by the day.
I keep it all the same. It's all the Johnny D Show. So it's JOHNNY D Show, the Johnny D Show. Lots of material. And if you really want to see lots of Trump, go to my YouTube, which is the Johnny D Show and the #1.
John, you are the best, my friend. I love you, brother.
All right, buddy.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care,
and
John.
Keep up the great work on Piers. I mean, you're just kicking ass.
Thanks, John. That
stuff.
means a lot, my
All
friend. I appreciate you. You take care. John DiDomenico, everybody. He is the best. You won't find a better Trump impersonator than John DiDomenico, so we appreciate him coming on. Hey, how about that? What show can you find world's best Donald Trump impersonator from the Howard Stern Show? He has agreed to come on this show in full makeup gear, and you can ask him anything you want. What show will they let you do that? That's right, this show, Pushing the Limits. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our last break of the show. We're going to take phone calls on the other side, but I have some audio that I want to play for you. Bill O'Reilly. That's right. Bill O'Reilly is making excuses for Donald Trump on why the administration isn't releasing the Epstein files. We have that to play for you, and you are not going to believe what Steve Scalise said about taking Medicaid away from millions of people. We have the audio to play it for you next. You're not going to want to miss it, and we will take phone calls on the other side. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the law.
And having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NikoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
All right, welcome back. Pushing the limits on a Thursday. We'll be taking some phone calls here in a little bit. Please check out my friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the $20 ribeye steak. They haven't changed the price in 8 years. Comes with a side and veggies, and they also have some great gaming promotions, including these scratch-offs. If you earn a certain amount of points, I believe it's 500 points. And today is Wednesday, or yesterday was Wednesday, but they do it twice a week. You can have a chance to get these scratch-offs where you can win up to $50 in free slot play. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Programming note for you, tomorrow on the program, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, will be joining us. He's very angry and frustrated because the video that they said they were going to release was not the video they released outside of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. It was a different camera angle, and there happens to be a minute missing. So Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, will be joining us on the program tomorrow. So you're not going to want to miss that as well. So that'll be tomorrow on the show. And Nicole Mitchell will be joining us as well in hour number 2. So there's a lot to talk about today, but I want to start with the war in the Ukraine. As you know, Donald Trump is the guy who said he would end the war within 24 hours. He also said all he would do was pick up the phone and talk to Vladimir Putin and the war would be over. In fact, it would end before he even got into office. Now, we all know that that was a lie. But I want you to listen to what Marco Rubio had to say, because he's asked by a member of the media about this war and the fact that Donald Trump can't end the war. And Marco Rubio somehow still wants to give him credit. This is really pathetic what Marco Rubio has turned into. These people are a joke. Have a listen to this exchange.
Said that what was necessary to end this war would be a conversation between President Trump and President Putin. But there have now been multiple phone calls between the two of them, and yet the war in Ukraine goes on. Does this speak to any weakness in terms of the president's ability to negotiate an end to this conflict, or why does it persist despite them having spoken?
Well, this is a war that the president inherited, right? He got elected and it had already been going on, and no progress had been made to that point towards peace of any kind. In fact, there had not even been any meetings between the Ukrainians and the Russians for quite some time. So while there's been some humanitarian exchanges made, obviously that's our goal here, is to end this war and any role we can play. So this is not a war that started under President Trump. It's a war that wouldn't have happened had he been president, but now it's here. And we'll continue to engage and do everything we can and hopefully make progress. As I said, and I've said repeatedly, look, we are, if we see an opportunity to make a difference in this, we're going to take it and we're going to pursue it. And that's what the president has done. And he deserves tremendous credit for having multiple phone calls with leaders from both countries and anybody else.
Have a listen to what Marco Rubio just said. He said that Donald Trump deserves tremendous credit for having conversations with world leaders. Conversations. Think about how ridiculous that is. Think about how absurd that is. So we should give Donald Trump credit for not doing anything except for getting us into another ill-advised war and being unable to end the war in Ukraine, a war that he said he would end within 24 hours. And then when Donald Trump is asked about this, he says he was just being sarcastic. It's ridiculous. And then there comes the Epstein files and the Epstein list and the Kash Patels of the world and the Dan Bonginos of the world and everybody basically that's in the MAGA base have been saying that these files are going to be out there and released, and Bill Clinton and all these Democrats are going to be exposed. Well, it turns out that Donald Trump and his administration are holding on to these files and they're not releasing them. Why? What do they have to cover up? Is Donald Trump now the deep state? Is Kash Patel and Dan Bongino now the deep state? Well, listen to Bill O'Reilly, who, again, Bill O'Reilly's the guy who couldn't get laid, so he tried to coerce women back to his hotel rooms, and Fox News had to pay out tens of millions of dollars after he sexually harassed women at Fox News. And should we be surprised that now Bill O'Reilly is making excuses for Donald Trump and why they're not releasing the Epstein files? Listen to this pathetic excuse for a human being, Bill O'Reilly, and the excuse he's making as to why Donald Trump is not releasing these files.
Talk to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. Talk to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that.
It's funny, we heard the same people talking about context when Donald Trump talked about grabbing women by the genitals. We heard the same excuses about context when Donald Trump invited Kanye West and Nick Fuentes to Mar-a-Lago for dinner. We heard the same thing about context when Donald Trump was talking about injecting yourself with disinfectant. We heard the same thing about context when Donald Trump said that he would end the war within 24 hours. It's always context with these people. Context. No, it's pretty simple. If you were very close with Jeffrey Epstein and Epstein called you his best friend, you're probably in the Epstein files if you would like some context. Here's some context for you. Here's a name that I think doesn't want to be out there associated with Jeffrey Epstein and was probably on Jeffrey Epstein's island and probably did some horrible things to underage kids. That name is Donald Trump. His name is Donald J. Trump. So Bill O'Reilly could talk about context of why he tried to coerce women back to his hotel rooms and tried to put pressure on them and offered them help with their careers so that he can have sexual relations with them. But then Bill O'Reilly's the same guy. Oh, no, we need some context. Here's some context for you, Bill O'Reilly. You're a scumbag. You've treated women horribly your whole life. You're an abuser. You're a terrible human being. You're a loudmouth. You're a racist, and you're scum. You and Donald Trump together are scum. There's your context. And then there's Anna Paulina Luna, who is another MAGA buffoon, who, again, making more excuses for Donald Trump, asked, do you think Donald Trump is on the Epstein client list? Well, y'all know the answer that Anna Paulina Luna gave. Here it is.
And blind, then it needs to happen. And so we'll continue to push for that release call for it, but it's been deafening how many members of Congress have been silent on this. And to be clear, also, I want to clear something up. I do not think, and I've told this to multiple media outlets because I've been getting questions on this, is Trump on the Epstein client list? No. And I'm very positive of that because if he was, they would have released it during the election cycle. But what I do know and what I'm seeing right now across, every aspect, whether it's rich, poor, famous, not famous, people have actual concerns. Are people basically paying off people to be quiet, and that's not okay.
Absolutely and positively ridiculous. So Anna Paulina Luna is saying, if Trump was in the Epstein files, Joe Biden would have released it. Okay, well, going by that same standard, we've heard MAGA Republicans say that the Clintons are in there and all these Democrats are in there, so why isn't Donald Trump releasing it? So that's an absolute stupid excuse. Oh, well, if Trump was in there, Joe Biden would have released it. We've been hearing for years, MAGA Republicans, all the prominent Democrats that they say allegedly are in there, then why wouldn't Donald Trump release it? So that's an absolute joke, and Anna Paulina Luna wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. Somebody else who wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7, that would be Steve Scalise. We've talked about this horrific big and beautiful bill that they call it and how upwards of 10 to 15 million people, maybe even more, are going to lose their Medicaid benefits. And I've told you time and time again that Republicans make excuses and say, well, get off your ass and work. Get off the couch, put the potato chips down and get to work. Well, that's a blatant lie. because 30% of people that are working in this country aren't even offered medical benefits, and almost half of them can't afford it. But yet you still have the Steve Scalise's of the world that are claiming that disabled people are going to be just fine. But the people living in their mom's basement, those are the only ones that are going to lose their Medicaid.
You know, disabled people will get better Medicaid under this bill because all of the fully able-bodied, the 35-year-old guy sitting at home playing video games in his mom's basement, he's going to have to go work because we put work requirements in place. And so he will not be crowding out disabled people in Medicaid. It's a crowded program. It's not the best form of health care right now. And so we're going to make that program work better for the people that are truly disabled and needy, not for somebody who's turning down work. And by the way, when he gets a job, he's going to get health care with his job that's better than Medicaid. So, you know, these are all components of the bill that they've been lying about. The truth is going to be something that the American people like because these are all things that President Trump campaigned on, and so did we.
Blatant lie. Steve Scalise is a bald-faced liar. He's a liar. He just said those people are going to get to work and then they're going to get those benefits. That's a blatant lie. I mean, it's like saying the earth is flat. 3 out of 10 people that are working in this country aren't even offered health care. Half of those people can't afford it. Steve Scalise, you're a scumbag and you're a liar. And I think we should take his health care benefits away. Remember when he had that health scare? Remember when he was shot? Remember when he had cancer? He had that health care ready to go. What would have happened if he didn't have health care? He wouldn't be alive. But he wants to be okay with millions and millions of people. Many of these people are working. Many of these people can't afford health care. But he wants these people off of Medicaid. It's just absolutely and positively despicable. And finally, if you want to talk about despicable, listen to acting ICE Director Todd Lyons when asked, do you feel like some of these arrests are kidnapping? And we know this for a fact because we've seen the videos that some of these agents, not only are they not identifying themselves, but they have these masks over their face. We've literally seen this, and you have the acting ICE Director, Todd Lyons, that is blatantly lying on national television. Have a listen to this.
Something that Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, just said caught my attention when she said, how do we know that this is an arrest and not a kidnapping? I'll turn it over to you. How would she know?
Well, I mean, Dana, you can see from all the video too, right? They say that ICE agents, they're not properly marked. You see them in their tactical gear, in their vest, where, you know, you blatantly see FBI, ATF, ICE, HSI, ERO, whoever's out with us. So the mayor's claims are just totally false. And what she's doing is making people afraid of us. If, you know, LA wasn't a sanctuary city, we wouldn't have to go on the streets. If they turn these criminals over to us in a secure setting, we would not be out there. So what the mayor is doing is she's stoking the flames of this, and she's the one that's making it worse than what it really is.
You want criminals to be turned over? Okay, let's go to Washington, D.C., and let's turn in Donald Trump, you scumbag. He's a 34-count felon, you scumbag, and that's the guy that you work for. You're also lying. There's videos all over social media. It's not just happening in L.A. It's happening in Nebraska. It's happening in New York. It's happening in Nevada. It's happening everywhere where you have ICE agents that are not identifying themselves. They have nothing on their person to identifying themselves, and they are arresting people. So you are a scumbag and another liar, Todd Lyons. You are lying to the American people. The proof is in the pudding. All you have to do is go on social media and see some of these videos, scumbag. And speaking of scumbag, how about Representative Senator Ashley Moody, who was asked about her thoughts on Democrats that oppose ICE, and they're calling it an anarchist agenda, the fact that Democrats believe that every human being, not citizen, every human being deserves due process. And listen to the way Ashley Moody attacks Democrats for having a moral compass.
This is more of the same. So when you're seeing lawmakers using this really incendiary rhetoric and showing up at ICE facilities and saying it's inspiring that people are going after and targeting ICE using words like the Gestapo, I mean, it's not just the law enforcement officers that are feeling this, it's their families. I'm the wife of a law enforcement officer, and we watch them day in, day out put their lives on the line for us, and these lawmakers should understand that. And all they are doing by demonstrating these thoughtless, careless words that are inciting violence against officers. They are just showing that they are ignorant pawns of a subversive anarchist agenda. And that has to stop.
Absolutely despicable. Ashley Moody is the one with no compassion. But let me tell you something, Ashley. I have a heart. I'd like to think that I'm a decent human being. I care about people. I have a moral compass. You are a soulless individual, just like many within the MAGA base that are totally okay with this. You guys are going after nonviolent criminals, so many of them, who are paying taxes in an extremely aggressive and inhumane way. And you want to say that people that are opposing ICE are the ones without compassion? You want to call us ignorant pawns? No. Let me be very clear. Anybody out there that's okay with alligator Alcatraz, anybody that's okay with ICE agents that are not identifying themselves, which is, by the way, against the law, rounding up people, sending them to El Salvador prisons, some of whom are nonviolent criminals, we know that for a fact, then there's something wrong with you. I'm the person with compassion. I'm the person that cares about human beings. You're the ones that have no compassion. Agree or disagree? Now's your chance to call into the show. You have two choices. You could either be a keyboard warrior and be a coward, or you could be willing to call into this show and have a conversation with me and tell me why you think I'm wrong and why nonviolent criminals in this country, you're okay with them being sent to El Salvador prisons. You're okay with them being sent to alligator Alcatraz. You're okay with ICE agents not identifying themselves. The number to call if you want to be a part of the program, now's the time to do it. 702-221-7283. Again, that number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. That number, 702-221-SAVE. MAGA callers are always welcome. Where am I wrong on this? Are you okay living in a country where ICE agents don't have to identify themselves? They could be waiting outside a courtroom. People that are showing up to their court dates trying to do it the right way. Are you okay with them waiting outside of Home Depot in front in the morning? Are you okay with them not identifying themselves, tackling people who have lived in this country for decades, people who pay taxes? And it's one thing if you're okay with them being deported. It's another thing if you want people to be sent to an El Salvador prison, one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. Why are you okay with that? That's what I would ask you. Again, that number to call. We'll take some calls right now at 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And Pastor Ruthie, I believe, is first up on PTL. Pastor Ruthie, hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Well, I want to let you know I live here in Florida. And just the other day, the so-called Alcatraz flooded. They rushed in right before Trump and DeSantis came in, tried to clean. So my thing is, let's put Trump and all his buttheads in there with no toilets, no air conditioners, no nothing, except for each other.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? You know, as being a pastor, the fact that there are situations where ICE agents are going into religious sanctuaries and deporting people and handcuffing people. How do you feel about that?
Excuse my language. It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because that is a sanctuary for God, not government.
Yeah.
And not agents. Because if they come into my church, they better beware.
Yeah.
Because they won't be, they will, let me put it this way. When you come into a sanctuary, two things are going to happen. Both of them, you're going to meet your maker.
Let's hope so. Pastor Ruthie, it's always good to hear from you, and I really do appreciate your call, and I feel the same way you feel, and if you have compassion, and if you're a compassionate person, you'll be on our side on this one, Pastor Ruthie, and I do appreciate your call. Let's see here. Let's go to Pablo. Pablo is next up on PTL. Hey, Pablo, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, bud?
Good.
It's been a while since I went ahead and called you, but I guess things as we all expected are getting a lot worse than better. I am in my 70s. I've called you before and told you this. And what's going on right now in the new jail is ridiculous. I mean, first of all, anybody that we go ahead and pick up, we're supposed to send them to their country, not to El Salvador, not to go ahead and punish them for coming into the States.
Correct.
But now we're going ahead and putting them in a place where it's going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars to take care of them, but we don't want to feed children. We want to use
you're right.
We want to use these immigrants as examples of what not to do under this administration. But what's worse is that every Republican, congressman, House representative, senator, including the Supreme Court and the Oval Office, they're all complicit in everything that's happening. When you go ahead and you tell somebody like myself, I'm from California. I was born in California. I am Hispanic. When you tell somebody like myself that anybody who is not a citizen, even if they're here legally and they have their green card, but not a citizen, if they leave the country, they cannot come back. Well, that's violating my First Amendment rights. Because if I want to travel with one of my relatives that is already immigrated, they can't come back, but only I can.
Right. Well, listen,
that is not what the Constitution says.
It's not only, and you're right, my friend, and I'm so glad to hear from you. It's not only not what the Constitution says, but it's also breaking the law. I mean, you're right. Our Constitution says any person. It could say any citizen, but they chose not to put that in there. It says it doesn't say any citizen. It says any person has the right to due process. And what Donald Trump is doing and what his administration is doing is let's just call it for what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. They're not giving people due process. People. Notice how I didn't say undocumented. These are human beings. They are people. And these MAGA Republicans have no moral compass. And it is disgraceful and it is disgusting. Let's go to Bill. Bill is next up on PTL. What's up, Bill?
Hey, what's going on, Brian?
Hey.
I'm a first-time caller.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, thank you so very much for everything that you do. The world right now is just absolutely nuts and crazy. What they're doing to all of the I'm not even going to say illegal because I don't believe in illegal. All the immigrants. My mother is from Haiti, and I fear for her every single day that they can scoop her up and pick her up. It's just sickening. It's sickening.
It is sickening what they're doing. I don't recognize the country that we live in anymore, my friend. I really don't. I just don't.
No, and they're going to be barking up the wrong tree. I really believe that the hate and the whole entire not caring about human life, it's not going to last long for them. It really isn't.
Well, I got to tell you, for the next 3.5 years, my friend, if this is still going on and we have ICE agents that are not identifying themselves, that are going into religious sanctuaries, when you have ICE agents that are going into schools, if they're doing this in 3 years from now, we're in a lot of trouble. We already are in a lot of trouble. I can't believe that they're doing what they're doing now, let alone what's going to happen in a year or 2 years or 3 years from now. And I feel for these families that are being separated. It's a terrible situation. And I appreciate your phone call, my friend. Thank you very much. And I agree with you. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Todd. Todd is next up on PTL. Okay, we don't have Todd. Let's go to, who are we going to next? Let's go to Benjamin. Benjamin is next up on PTL. Hi, Benjamin.
Hi, Brian. Big supporter of yours.
Thank you.
Watch your program regularly.
Thank you.
I work in human resources for a major Japanese corporation. I am a naturalized citizen myself, a brown person, Sri Lankan origin. I work with a lot of H-1B visa holders who've come to this country as students, gone through the right way, studied hard, working as engineers. Some of them are citizens. Some of them have kids who are born here and who this whole debacle is going to affect. So what's happening now, there are situations where families back home where they are from want them to come for emergency situations, for funerals. And these guys are so scared to go because they don't know if when they come back, they'll be allowed or will they be sent into one of these dismal places that this horrible man has created for people, brown and black people. And that is a scary situation. That's going to affect our economy. Sure. We're talking about engineers and scientists who are so scared, and some of them are deporting themselves in spite of being legal. And so this is going to have huge effects.
It already is, right? I agree with you.
Exactly.
It already is. First of all, just starting with the tariffs, you talk about the tariffs and the American consumers that are paying the price. And then it is interesting now because you have the farmer situation, and they want grandma, to stay in this country as long as you're a farmer. They're going to realize, and we already know, but MAGA country going to realize that these deportations are going to do far more harm than good to the United States of America. Yes, we don't want violent people in this country. We don't want violent people here to begin with, period. Right? But the fact of the matter is it's only going to get worse.
And like what Joe says, if we do recover, when we recover, it's going to take us so long to get these brains back because we are just losing talent by the hour. We're just bleeding talent that we have within this country created. But because of this man, we're going to lose all of that. And that's going to affect all types of industries. We see that constantly when we go for HR meetings with other companies. Yeah. We see this as a constant threat for us in human resources. We cannot identify because there's not enough talent. I mean, we would love to employ every, natural born American, but there isn't enough natural born American talent for many of these jobs. And that is going to be a human resource crisis. And we're seeing it play out in real time.
And it's more than just talent. I would also, and I'm sure you would agree with me when I say, the overwhelming majority of these people are hard workers. They want a better life for themselves and their family. They don't care if they have to work 15 hours a day. They want a better life for themselves and their family. And a lot of these people are working jobs that a lot of American citizens don't want to work. And Donald Trump knows that best because, as you know, he hired undocumented immigrants himself. And now all of a sudden, the way they're treating these people, it's so inhumane. They're treating them like animals, unless you're white, unless you're from South Africa and you're white, and then you're welcome to come here with open arms. It's racism at its finest, my friend. I appreciate hearing from you. I'm glad that there are good people like you that are in this country. That's the way I want it to be, sir. And honored that you listen to the show. And I really do appreciate you for calling in. And thank you so much for your support. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Brian. How we doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
I don't know if you've heard what happened yesterday here in Ohio. My daughter, she's got a medical condition. She goes to Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Mm-hmm. When they take her back to surgery, there's multiple people back there. Well, the chaplain comes around and visits, the families and whatnot. And my child, along with many other children, have gotten used to this chaplain. Yesterday, this man, he's been in the country over a decade. He was detained. They canceled his asylum appointment, kept his ICE appointment, went in. now I've got a daughter in here that knows this man. You know, he comes and visits her. We go see him whenever she has appointments up there. So it is not criminals. I mean, these men.
So you're telling
helping
me,
kids.
I just want to, I want to make sure I understand your story, and I'm very sorry to hear this. You're telling me you have a chaplain, your daughter has a relationship with him, that he's a good man.
Yes.
He's been in this country.
Amon Solomon from Children's Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's all over the news.
And 10 years, and he's been your chaplain. Is that my understanding?
He's been here. He's been in the country for a decade. My daughter's only been dealing with him for 3 years. But all the kids that have this same kind of condition, they go at the same time, and they travel from all over the state.
That's terrible. That's
So when they
heartbreaking. What do
meet
you
up-
What do you tell your daughter? How old is your daughter, if you don't mind me asking?
She's 11.
What do you tell
But
your
there's
11-year-old daughter when this happens? How do you explain this to her?
I mean, me and my wife sat her down and said, "Baby, this is what the world's come to. Unfortunately, this is Donald Trump." We are not lying to her, because these kids have got to know what's going on. I mean, it not detailed, but you know, it broke her down. I mean, her friends, they all talk whenever they have to do a treatment every evening. These kids that have this condition, and they was talking, and the one little girl passed away. Her family was talking to my wife about it, and that's how I found out that they had detained him. And then I started looking into it, and sure enough, my wife come running in, told me, and, you know, then Kinsey overheard us. And
obviously this is a nonviolent criminal. This is somebody who does a lot of good for the community. And here's what's even worse,
He's a Muslim from Egypt.
Yep, there you
He's
go.
a Muslim from Egypt.
So, and here's what's worse, right? We don't know where he's being sent. We have no idea.
No. He's in Butler County Jail right now in Cincinnati, Ohio.
A nonviolent criminal who's a chaplain, who's been there for your family, who sounds, from what you've told me, to be a very good man, a caring man.
Oh, yeah.
And they just arrest him. We don't know the circumstances of it because he might be undocumented. And you know, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. These people, like you're talking about, this chaplain, there needs to be a pathway to citizenship for these people. They shouldn't be treated like violent criminals.
In 2019, he applied for a green card, and they denied him just recently. And it was 6 years later, they denied him for whatever reason. Of course, now, you know, this is just recently. They canceled his asylum hearing for yesterday morning at 9, but they kept his ICE hearing, and family stated he was in the interviews all day yesterday, and finally they come out and said he was detained. And that's
so.
what
Here
I
is a man who's trying to do it the right way. A good, decent man who's showing up to court. He's showing up to his meetings with ICE. He's doing what it appears to be everything he can to become a legal, naturalized citizen. It appears to me, and this is my opinion, it appears to me that the reason why they're doing this might have something to do with the fact that he's Muslim. It might have something to do with the fact that he's a brown person. It might have something to do with the fact that he's not white. That's what it sounds like to me, my friend.
That's exactly what it is, Brian. It's exactly. His name is Amon Solomon. If anybody wants to look it up, it's here in Cincinnati. Well, we're 3 hours away from Cincinnati, but that's where her specialist is. So that's what I wanted to bring up.
I am just so disheartened. I am so sorry to hear this. I hope that this man gets the help and the due process that he deserves. Unfortunately, it just doesn't sound like he is.
No.
And I'm very sorry for that.
Not looking good.
Yeah, it's not looking good. And I'm looking at a picture of this man right now, and it's just a very sad story. And I'm sorry what your family has had to go through with this. And I can only imagine what his family is now going through. Please keep us updated. If you have any new information, please, sir, call back in and let us know. Okay. And we'll do anything we can to help.
All right, Brian.
Okay? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That is just gut wrenching. But here's what's important. This isn't just one or two people or a small handful of people. There are thousands of stories like that in this country. Is this the country that you want to live in? Is this the country that you want to live in, where these are the kinds of people that are being treated like animals, being deported, some to El Salvador prisons? Is this the country that you want? 702-221-7283, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Lisa. Lisa is next up on PTL. What's up, Lisa?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hey, doing okay. What's on your mind today?
I love your show. God knows I do.
Thank you.
You know what amazes me about Donald Dumb is that it's mighty funny that he talks so much about the election with Biden. Oh, it's been rigged, it's been rigged, and that. But as soon as he gets in there, there's no talk about it. This man is so inhumane till it is unreal. And the stuff that he's doing is going to happen back to him. Because we're supposed to be a country of love. Everybody here is an immigrant. None of us bought nothing here, and we're sure to take nothing out. The stuff that this man and this so-called administration is doing, it's a travesty before God. And every time he turns around, he wants to find something else to cover up the mess that he does. He's evil. His administration is evil. And everybody should take a look at the administration he had before. None of them came back to the second administration.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, why do we have so many people in America that would vote for the demise, the hate, to put a man that didn't even want to tell people about COVID? He sits there, everything he said is a blatant lie. I'm a New Yorker. I was born and raised in Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York in 1965. This man here is horrific.
That's
When you
definitely
see him,
that's definitely one way to describe it, my dear. And even worse, while the people in his administration have no moral compass, they're also incompetent people. So when you have people that are bad people that are also incompetent people, this is what you get. You get ICE agents across the country that are not identifying themselves, literally kidnapping people. You have the economy that's in shambles. We're headed towards a recession. We're in another ill-advised war. The war in Ukraine is worse off now than it was on day one. He's still kissing the ass of evil dictators, and they're all taking advantage of him.
And he sits there as if he's done something. If you're gonna send some immigrants back, start with your wife. And she's not the first lady; she's the third lady.
Yeah, that's
she's
true.
Not the first lady,
maybe the
she's
sixth or
third lady.
seventh lady. Yeah, no, I agree with you, my dear.
You understand what I'm saying?
I totally understand what you're saying, my dear, and I completely agree with you. And great phone call, and you're absolutely right. She's the just another contractual wife that doesn't want to be anywhere near the White House. But she's just as despicable as he is. Well, I'm not going to sit here and defend Melania Trump either. She knew exactly what she was getting into when she decided to marry this guy. And I got you some information here. It had nothing to do with orange, the color orange. It had to do with the color green. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Melinda. Melinda is next up on PTL. Hi, Melinda.
Hi, Brian. It's good to chat with you again. Just real quick, this last caller, I couldn't agree with her more. Pure evil and cruelty. You had another caller just a little bit earlier, and I believe he said he was of Indian descent.
Yeah.
And he's concerned about leaving the country to go to a funeral or something like that because feared that they won't let him back in. Well, I am of Hispanic heritage, and I would like to visit some family in Mexico, but I'm actually fearful they won't let me back in, even though I was born and raised here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm concerned, with my last name. Is that going to start being a problem?
I think everything is on the table, and I wish I can tell you and make you feel better and say no, but I can't give you that answer, and I'm not going to lie to you. Make no mistake about it. If your name sounds like, a name of someone from another country, Barack Hussein Obama, you always hear Donald Trump emphasize the Hussein. There's a reason for that, because they're racist. Oh,
absolutely.
What your name sounds like, what your skin looks like, that's what's important to the Donald Trump administration. Now, it's not important to me. It's not important to you. It's not important to decent human beings, but it certainly is important to white supremacists, and it's definitely important to Donald Trump.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best, my dear. Hang in there.
Thank you,
we're all
Brian.
in this together, and I appreciate your phone call. We're going to try to get through this together. I don't know how, but we're going to try. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Mike. Mike is next up on PTL. Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Way back when our forefathers and the people before him that came here were illegal immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the Native Americans had ICE back then, maybe none of us would be living in this country.
That's true. I agree. 100%. This country was founded on immigrants.
Exactly.
You're right. And sometimes I think some of us lose that and we forget. Donald Trump doesn't care. When you look at Donald Trump's family, and they're despicable, We know that his father was seen at Klan rallies. In fact, he was arrested at a Klan rally because I believe he was a Klansman himself. When we look at Donald Trump's family, they were white elitists, and they still are. And when you go to Mar-a-Lago, those are the people that Donald Trump associates himself with. He doesn't associate himself with the ignoramuses that go to his rallies. He associates himself with elitists. And you hear MAGA Republicans call out liberal elitist Hollywood people. But when you look at the people in Donald Trump's administration, here's a stat for you. Donald Trump's administration is worth somewhere around $60 billion. That does not include Elon Musk. $60 billion. So who are the real elitists in this country? Are they liberal lefties, or are they those that are working in Donald Trump's administration? That's what I would ask.
Yeah. I would too.
Yeah. I appreciate your call, sir. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. 702.
Sure thing.
Thank you. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Brian. A few things. What do you think about Melania, the hoe who cemented over the entire Jacqueline Kennedy Rose Garden?
Yeah, I do think about that. I'm going to give you a story in regards to that because I think it's, it's.
I have two more things. Can you give me the story if I mentioned the other story?
Well, just so I don't forget.
I'd like to hear that.
Just so I don't forget.
I'd like to hear that.
It's not really a story, but just so I don't forget. On January 6th, when all that stuff was going on, the violence, and Melania was asked, can you put out a tweet to help stop the violence? She was replacing rugs in the White House. She was in the White House. She continued to replace rugs, and she refused to put out a statement condemning the violence. That's who Melania Trump is. So I just want to be very clear on that. But when it comes to what they did at the White House, not a surprise. Not a surprise what they've done and what Donald Trump will continue to do, whether it's whether it's a Martin Luther King statue that, they take out of the Oval Office, or whether what Melania did with the toilets and all. It's despicable, but it's not surprising. Go ahead.
In my opinion, she's a illegal immigrant.
She very well might be.
The other two things real quick. Associated Press came out with a report that Kristi Noem gave out a memo stating that any FEMA money over $100,000 has to be approved by her, which is one of the main reasons why everything was slowed down in reaction time to the flood.
Well, not only that,
but overwhelmed.
Kristi Noem didn't authorize FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams until Monday.
Exactly.
Until Monday.
One more thing. I like Joe Walsh sort of like when he's on your show, but I don't trust him running as a Democrat because let me tell you, you don't just forget about your Republican views. He may not be MAGA, but he still has Republican views. And I have a real good feeling that he would be just like a Joe Manchin.
No, I disagree.
And I don't trust the guy.
No,
I just don't trust him.
I disagree with you. I respectfully disagree with you. While I don't always agree with Joe Walsh, I don't care whether he's a Republican or a Democrat. I think he's a decent man, and what we need is
but he's running as a Democrat.
Okay, but
because he knows he can't win as a Republican or a undecided.
Well, I don't think he's going to win as a Democrat either. But so what? I mean, we know that he's a decent man. Sure, we might not agree on every issue, but I know he's anti-MAGA. He's anti-Trump. He doesn't like what Trump is doing to this country. I agree with him on the most important issues, and we're not going to agree with every candidate on anything. But I'll tell you this. I'd rather vote for Joe Walsh than Chuck Schumer. I'd rather vote for Joe Walsh than Rashida Tlaib. I'd rather vote for Joe Walsh than Ilhan Omar.
But he's a Democrat in name only. He's a Dino.
I understand. I'm just saying there are other Democrats out there where I'd rather vote for Joe Walsh than them. I think there are some Democrats there that are despicable as well.
Josh Shapiro, Gavin Newsom.
I like Josh Shapiro. I don't know. Why, you have a problem with Josh Shapiro?
No. I think one of those two should.
I would vote for Josh Shapiro over Joe Walsh, of course. But I'm just saying that just because if we're talking about the presidency, that's different. But I still accept Joe Walsh into the party, even though I'm not a Democrat. I still accept him as a person. I think he's a decent human being, and I think he'll be a good representative, even though I don't agree with him on everything. I believe he's a decent human being. That's where it starts for me, Mark. I do appreciate your phone call. Thank you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul, who's calling in from the UK. Always good to hear from Paul. Paul, what's going on?
Hey, hi there, Brian. Lovely show as always. You're doing such a great job.
Thank you.
This will be a quick call. I keep listening to the orange idiots talking about tariffs as they're bringing money into the country. I'll give you a real example. I've got a company. We sell stuff on Amazon FBA. We're now going to go international and we're going to sell in the USA. So I'm pricing this product for the USA. And guess what? I find out what the tariff is from China because we're manufacturing in China like so many other people, and I add it on to the end price, right? So the consumer in America will pay that tariff. Now, if the tariff reduces, you can be damn sure I'm not taking it off because that would look stupid.
Right.
So they're even paying an inflated price.
Yeah.
I'm getting more profit from the tariff. And if the tariff increases, you can be damn sure I'll increase the price.
Sure.
The consumer is paying. That's how everybody will price it, with the tariff included as a cost to be passed on to consumers.
Why is it, Paul, that so many MAGA Republicans don't seem to understand how these tariffs will not only hurt people like you, but they will hurt the American consumer? Why is it so hard for these MAGA Republicans to understand how tariffs work?
Well, Brian, I think they do. I just don't think they dare tell Trump he's talking like a twat. I mean, he said the other day about the $88 billion at the bottom of the budget.
Yeah.
And he said, somebody called me up and said, sir, you know, his sir stories, which are always lies. Why have we got more money than we should have? And, you know, you heard that story. And Trump says, well, look at the tariff line.
Yep.
It was like the guy boasting about passing a dementia test. He's done it 1,000 times. And nobody says to him, excuse me, that's a dementia test, not an IQ test, dummy. And the tariffs are paid by the consumer. You're not bringing money into the country. You're taxing the American
So as
citizen.
somebody in the UK, let me ask you this. Do you think that it's just so many Americans are stupid? Or do you think that they're selfish, or both? Like, from your perspective in the UK, why do you think they're okay with this?
That's a really good question, because I think about this a lot, and I've been thinking about it since 2015. I think America has extremes. It's always been a country of extremes. So you'll have the greatest scientists, the greatest brains. Einstein came to America, for example. You'll also have the dumbest people. You have the sort of person who thinks WWE wrestling's real. You've got those people. So I think you've got the two extremes, but you've got more of those extremes. I'm sure, as I understand it, literacy in America is very low generally. So I think you have a lot of dumb people and you have a lot of brilliant people.
I think that's
So
very interesting. You know, Paul, when I was 8 or 9 years old, I thought it was the WWF back then. When I was 8 or 9 years old, I thought that wrestling was real. And then I finally figured it out at about 10 or 11 years old. So I said, Dad, I think this is fake. That's when I stopped watching the WWF. But yeah, you're right. There are adults our age that still think wrestling is real. You're right. They're very stupid.
I mean, the wrestling always made me laugh. So I once went on a chat and I spoofed to the guys on the chat. They're all grown-ups. And they were complaining. Some of them were complaining that the good guy, it was unfair because all the bad guys came along, knocked out the referee, beat him up, and, you know, hit him with a chair and all that stuff, the thing. And then when the referee wakes up, they put the arm over him and the bad guy wins. And they're saying this is not fair. And they're all swearing at each other. And I said, I tell you what, guys, let's all send videos in to the Wrestling Federation and prove to them that they cheated. So let's prove, we all saw it. Let's prove them that whatever it was, Hulk Hogan, whoever it was, cheated. We'll prove it and then we'll get the result overturned. And these guys on the chat turned on me. They were furious with me for pointing out something so obvious.
Can I point this out? Those people that were chastising you and that think wrestling is real are the same people that think Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
Yes, Brian, this is 100% the issue. They prefer to believe in the pantomimes. They want to believe in the fantasy because the fantasy is more interesting.
Right.
It's more interesting, isn't it? It's more interesting to think there was a huge conspiracy to beat Trump in the thing. They want to believe that he's a brave, tough guy, that he would have been the greatest general ever, and he's the biggest deal maker. They want to believe it. It doesn't matter what you say to them. You can show them. I've got, unfortunately, somebody in my family who thinks that, believe it or not. And I don't talk to him at the moment, but somebody in my family, and I could send him video after video. I could send him the videos of Trump on the radio show talking about what he did with the changing rooms and blah, 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 blah. I can do all that. He doesn't care.
Let me
It's
tell you
like-
something,
it's like-
Paul. And I don't know if your member of your family would do this, but I'm going to be honest with you, Paul. You could have Donald Trump on video sodomizing a child on video. And there are still a large percentage, in my estimation, of his base that would still support him. That just goes. They're sick. They're sick cultists. These people. They're cultists and they're sick.
100%. They would say Joe Biden set him up, or they'd say it wasn't
Right.
real.
The
It
deep
was
state.
fake.
Yeah, deep
So,
state.
you know, fake
Yeah.
news, fake news. We've heard it all before. It's the easiest thing in the world. You can't argue with these people.
No.
It's pointless trying to use logic against them. It's
You
pointless.
can't.
There's no
Paul,
logic.
you're right on the money, my friend.
You know.
Great to hear from you,
Okay.
Paul. I appreciate you, my friend. You're right on the money as always. Great phone call, and I appreciate you. I want to go to the YouTube super chat real quickly here. Let's get through a few of these, and I appreciate all your support. Let's start off with Shelly. Shelly says, Brian, I don't see Donald as being elite. I see him as being a trash. I'm not joking. No, I'm not either, Shelly, and I certainly agree with you with that sentiment, of course. Immortal Suspects. I'll get to him in a moment. Immortal Suspects. Let's do that. Credit to Robert Carr in the chat. He said twat stands for 2 weeks away. Trump. Shout out to Paul from the UK. Reaver in Abbott's stupid football analogy. He claims only losers look for blame and demand accountability. So does Abbott consider children dying a victory? Well, Reaver, he very well might. Thank you all for your support in the YouTube super chat. By the way, we appreciate all of you. Your questions and comments can be heard with donations in the YouTube super chat, or you can go to my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. Let's go to Lauren. Lauren is next up on PTL. Hello, Lauren.
Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Hey, Lauren. What's on your mind today?
Well, I've heard the a comment that the majority of people are being sent to El Salvador.
I didn't say that.
That's simply not true.
I didn't say that. Where did I say the majority
No,
of
I
the
didn't
people?
say you did. I didn't say you did, Brian. It
There were
wasn't you.
260 people, give or take a few, that were sent to the El Salvador prison.
Right. The vast majority are being sent to their home of origin.
Okay, but does that still
So
make
they're
it
not-
right?
they're
Does
not
that?
being sent-
But does that still make
Beg
it
your
right?
pardon?
Does that still make it right, though, that there are people that are being sent to, whether it be an El Salvador prison or a high maximum security prison? That doesn't make it right, though. Just because it's not
Why
the
doesn't it?
the majority.
I think it's dependent on what they were charged with.
Not true. What was Garcia charged with?
He was, my understanding was trafficking.
No, there were no charges filed in the United States of America. He was never convicted of a crime. So let me ask you a question. In this country, whether
Well,
you
okay, so he wasn't convicted of a crime.
he
but
wasn't
was
charged. He
illegal.
wasn't charged with trafficking in the United States. I want to ask you this though. So let me
But
ask
he
you.
was here illegally.
Okay, so if you're here illegally, you're okay with somebody being sent to the highest maximum security prisons in the world. You're okay with that?
We'll find out, I guess.
No, I'm
because,
asking you.
is
I'm
he gonna
asking
be
you
going
a
to court?
moral. Lauren. I'm asking you a moral.
It's got nothing to do with moral.
Yes, it does, and I'll tell you why.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You are saying you are okay with someone who has lived in this country for decades, that has never committed a violent crime in their life, to be treated like a violent criminal and be sent to a high maximum security prison in another country, in some cases, not the country of their origin, where they are originally from, where they are in cells, where they have one meal a day, where they are outside of their prison for 30 minutes a day, treated like somebody that is on death row. And Lauren, you mean to tell me that you are okay with someone who doesn't have the right paperwork, that might be in this country illegally, not having the right to due process, never committed a violent crime in their life, and being treated worse than someone in this country that's on death row? You're telling me with a straight face that you're okay with that?
I'm telling you that it has been the policy of the two.
I'm not asking you about policy.
I'm answering your question, Brian, if you allow me to answer
Well,
it.
you're not answering it, but go. I didn't ask you about policy.
I am answering it. Barack Obama did the same exact thing as
No, he
far
didn't.
as using
No, he didn't.
administrative procedures.
No, he didn't.
Check it out.
Tell me, you're telling me, hold on.
I'm
You're
telling
making the
you
case,
that he
Lauren,
sent
that
3
Barack
million people-
Lauren,
he
Lauren,
sent 3
Lauren,
million people out of
Lauren,
this country.
Lauren,
He-
Lauren,
his
Lauren, I need you to
nickname was
focus.
the
Lauren,
Deported Chief.
Lauren, you're not listening. I need you to stop.
No, you're not listening,
Hey,
Brian.
well, guess what? It's my show, not yours. So now it's your turn to listen. I didn't say deportations. because morons who don't listen to my words, Lauren, with respect, you're one of them. You're not listening. I didn't say deportations. You just brought up Barack Obama deporting 3 million people. I wasn't complaining about deportations. You're not listening. Your problem is you don't listen. I'm specifically talking about the specific deportations of nonviolent criminals with no due process that are being sent to the highest maximum security prisons in the world. You are wrong. Barack Obama did not do that. It's one thing to deport somebody to their home country. It's another thing to arrest somebody that's been in this country for decades that has no violent criminal record and send them to an El Salvador prison where they don't see the light of day and they could be there for the rest of their life. Lauren, why is it that you cannot differentiate the difference? Go ahead. Lauren? Okay, he hung up the phone like the coward that he is. Lauren, you're a coward. You hung up the phone because you're a coward. For the record, ladies and gentlemen, I did not hang up the phone on Lauren. Lauren's the one who hung up. What Lauren tried to do, and what many of these MAGA morons try to do when they don't have facts to back up their opinions, they try to compare Barack Obama and the deportations to Donald Trump. Barack Obama did not deport people without due process, sending them to an El Salvador prison or some of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. Barack Obama never did that. That was the point I was trying to make with Lauren. Do you notice how Lauren wouldn't answer the question? When I put them and pin them in a corner and I say, are you okay with nonviolent criminals being treated like animals, sent to some of the highest maximum security prisons in the world? They want to bring up Barack Obama because they can't defend the indefensible. Lauren has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. And then when I call him out on it and give him facts, he hangs up the phone. Typical MAGA buffoon. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy is next up on PTL. What's up, Kathy?
Hey, Brian. Just want to talk about a couple things with, try to make it as quick as possible. I'm going to talk about something that the Trump administration really doesn't want to talk about, and that's travel. It appears that booking data on travel for international tourists has dropped in flight reservations over 70%. And I have a personal story in that my husband had to travel overseas because my mother-in-law had passed away, and he had to do some estate issues with my sister-in-law. And when he came back from the UK, the flight was from Romania and then to UK. When he came back to the United States, he said the plane was practically empty. And I'm hearing about a lot of tourists, a lot of people who've traveled to other countries that are saying, coming back to the United States, are saying the same thing. But what I really wanted to tell people is that part of the reason this is happening, not only because of what's going on with Trump, but also because they're really cracking down at the airports in terms of ICE and that whole issue. So if you're going to be traveling overseas for any reason, first thing you should do, and I talked to an attorney about that, first thing you should do before you travel, if you have a smartphone, back up all of your data to the cloud and then reset your phone using the factory settings. If you don't want to do that, buy a burner phone and put the bare minimum on the burner phone, because there have been reports of travelers, of tourists that are coming to the United States having their cell phones confiscated because they may have something what they deem questionable on the phone. So I want you guys to be careful out there when you're traveling.
Well, I appreciate you calling in and sharing that with everybody. It's very valuable information. By the way, speaking of traveling, the Trump administration is bragging about the fact that we don't have to take off our shoes at the airport anymore. Kudos to the Trump administration. Wow, what a great accomplishment. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julie. Julie's next on PTL. What's up, Julie?
Brian, beautiful bill passed. I tried calling earlier, but couldn't get through. Ever since then, I've been on edge. I've been extremely on edge because I have no idea what my insurance will cover. I remember back at the first administration, my insurance didn't cover for everything. It didn't cover for my meds. it didn't cover all my appointments. So I was spending hundreds of dollars just to go to the doctor. Now I'm scared it's going to happen again. And this time I have nobody to help me financially. So, yeah, that and then what I just heard about traveling.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And I've been trying to get my friend over here from Morocco for the past 2 years.
Oh, good luck with
So
that.
you can imagine
Yeah.
how I'm going back and forth on even bringing him here because
Yeah. Be careful.
I don't know if he's going to stay.
Yeah.
But it's the only way to make both
Listen,
of our situations better.
And you have to
is if I help him come.
And there's a lot of people that are worried. There's a lot of people that are afraid. You know, I have a very close friend of mine, and her mother lives in Jordan. But for different reasons now, she can't even go visit her mom in Jordan because of the war and everything that's going on. You look at what's going on in this country, like you said, and your specific situation is exactly the same in a sense that you don't know if your friend who's Moroccan should come to this country. And I don't blame you for having those concerns. You're a good friend for being concerned for that individual. I can tell you right now, if Kamala Harris was the president of the United States, your friend would be able to come here just fine. It's terrible. Keep us updated, please. 702-221-7283. Frankie's next on PTL. Hello, Frankie.
Hi, Brian. Sorry for the disconnect yesterday.
That's okay.
Anyway, what I was calling to tell you about is, like one of your other callers not so long ago, I'm on the autism scale and on Medicaid and Medicare like her, and have medicines that help keep me alive.
Are you afraid?
I guess I'm just saying.
You're afraid that you could lose your medical benefits?
That's a possibility, yes.
Yeah, and you're someone that is in dire need of them. You know, just like a diabetic needs insulin, right? You need your medications to be able to live. You should be priority number one. And I got to tell you, I hate to say this, but in this big, beautiful bill, nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. They can say you're safe, but I don't believe them. Do you? I mean, I don't believe you're safe. I don't believe anybody on Medicaid is safe.
I definitely don't believe it.
Yeah. What are your doctors saying? Have you spoken to doctors? Have you spoken to people that prescribe you the medication? What are they telling you?
Well, so far they really haven't said anything. They just go on prescribing like they always do.
Yeah. Well, listen, sir, I wish you the best. Please keep us updated. I hope you get the medication and you continue to get the medication that you certainly need. It breaks my heart that, you go through what you're going through as an American, but yet you have to worry about the medications you take. Like we brought this upon ourselves. It's like, if you're a diabetic, you didn't choose to be a diabetic. You shouldn't have to worry about the ability to get insulin to live. You shouldn't have to worry about the ability to get the medications that you need to survive too. I wish you the best, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next up on PTL. Hi, Terry.
Hey, Brian. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I just wanted to share something with you. I live in a blue state in a small city in a red county. Our sheriff here is MAGA, and he said initially he would not cooperate with ICE, but changed his mind. Last Saturday, I was leaving our city park with my grandkids, and we saw a Latino man and his son coming into the park. And I said to my grandkids, hey, you guys want to stay a little bit longer to play? Because, Brian, I had this visceral kind of reaction not to leave that park because I was absolutely scared that ICE would come in. He would be the only man and his child in that park.
Wow.
And it really, really got to me. I mean, it just something took over in my body and said, you got to be hyper vigilant about this for this. I mean, I was really that concerned. That's how concerned I am about the people in my community that are, not the right color.
Yeah, you're right. We should all be concerned for them and for our neighbors, no matter what the color of their skin is, no matter where they're from. There's a lot of people in this country that are very scared. And I commend you for having that empathy that so many MAGA Republicans don't have.
Yeah, I just wanted to stay a little longer just to make, we let him leave first and then we left because I was really scared because again, we've got a sheriff who just, supports, he just thinks it's great. for them to come in and just take people away. We've had several people have that happen to them.
I'm going to tell you something. Anybody in this country who thinks that great can burn in hell. I really mean that sincerely.
I agree.
You can
and
all
I hope
burn
we
in
vote
hell.
the sheriff out.
Yep. I hope that sheriff burns in hell. I really do. Thank you for the call, my dear. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Shelly's next. What's up, Shelly?
Hey, Brian. I just wanted to tell you, if any of your listeners are having trouble affording their medication, all they have to do is get the manufacturer's name and number, and the pharmacy will give it to you, and call the manufacturer, and a lot of times they'll send you your medication for free. They did my mom. She was on an injection, and it was $1,000 a month, and they sent that to her like clockwork.
Wow. Well, you know what? That's really good information, Shelly. Thank you for sharing that. There might always be a way for some people to get their medication. There's a possibility. So I appreciate your call, Shelly. Thank you so much. And maybe people could take advantage of that. Hopefully they won't have to. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Todd. Todd, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian. Hey, buddy. We've talked before. Basically, I just want to praise you for how great you are. But
Thank you.
BLMM, Brian's loudmouth matters. But I wanted to teach you. So I'm First Nations or Native American, but First Nations from the Yellowknife Northwest Territories.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you very much. In my mother tongue is Masit Cho. And I just want to say Masit Cho to you. And don't give in. Don't let the enemy win. You matter a lot, and I just want to tell you that you really don't stop this. You're the best.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and if not for people like you, I wouldn't be able to do this show. For the people that watch the show, that support the show, that support me, and Kirk just went on pushingthelimits.live, and he made a donation. Thank you, Kirk, for that. The people in the YouTube super chat. For the people that support me, without you guys, I wouldn't be here. We got over 122,000 subscribers on YouTube pretty much in the last year or so, really, since last June. So I've only been doing the YouTube thing regularly for about a year and a half. So building.
Oh, I know. I've been listening, and you're fighting the good fight, buddy. And you really just never give in, never stop. It really matters. And cheers from Northern Canada.
Thank
on,
you, my
man.
friend. I love my Canadians. I love my Canadians. Thank you, Todd, for those kind words. I really appreciate it. Last caller of the day, we're going to go to Monty. Hi, Monty. What's up?
Hey, Brian, I totally agree with that last caller said. Thank you for fighting the good fight. Real quick, couple of things. Has anyone in the media said that we see more pictures and video of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein growing up?
That's true. You're right. You're right.
I mean, how much time did Trump spend with Epstein? We don't see any pictures of him ever socializing with Barron. And finally, I know it's the end of the show, last caller, but did you see this Nick Adams pic? This guy has the body of an eggplant, and he claims to be like this alpha male. And Trump now has made him an ambassador.
So I've got into it with that guy. He looks like 300 pounds of chewed bubble gum. He's a complete moron. He goes on Twitter, and we've gotten into it before, and he calls himself an alpha male, and he looks like a big donut. And all he does is wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. But that's all really you have to do. And then you get a job in the White House, and you get to become a Pete Hegseth or a Pam Bondi or a Caroline Leavitt or a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or a Tulsi Gabbard or, Kash Patel. As long as you wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7 and you have no moral compass and no backbone, and you will kiss Donald Trump's ass in any way, shape, or form that he wants you to, you will work for him, or you will be played by an evil, murderous dictator like a Vladimir Putin or a Kim Jong-un, or in some cases, even like a Benjamin Netanyahu. If you kiss his rear end enough, he will give you what you want, and that's what makes him so dangerous.
Brian, final thing. Do you think, kids have died because of Ted Cruz, because of Abbott, their incompetence, but it's so scary. We kicked Al Franken out of Congress because, some inappropriate pictures when he was a comedian.
Right.
I mean,
it's a double standard.
When will these people suffer for killing children.
Well, I
they're
don't
gonna get
disagree.
reelected. Ted Cruz.
I don't disagree. Let's just start with Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem authorized FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams on Monday. She waited until Monday. How many children have lost their lives because of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? How many children have lost their lives because of Donald Trump cutting the NOAA? How many children have lost their lives because Governor Greg Abbott is an imbecile? You're right. Don't even get me started with all these mass shootings in these schools. Thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. These people are repugnant. They're disgusting. And I will continue to call it out. Listen, this is an independently owned radio show. I appreciate all your compliments. If you really want to help me out, besides spreading the word, of course, of my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, we want you to be interactive. We want you to give us the thumbs up and subscribe. Go to my website where you can make donations, and you could also buy PTL merchandise. We sell hats, we sell shirts, you name it, mugs, we sell it on there. Doesn't matter what the donation is. It could be $5, $10, $20 a month. If you go to pushingthelimits.live and you make a donation, you are helping us keep the lights on and allowing us to keep doing what we love to do and what I love to do, which is separating truth from fiction. And I will continue to fight for this country and fight for all of you, and you will always have a platform and a voice on this show so long as you continue to support what I do. Tomorrow on the program, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, will be joining us on these latest revelations. See you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn?